What's going on, guys? So today I decided I wanted to create a video on how to figure out the starting number of calories you need to hit your body composition goals. Now, I think that this is a topic that's been beaten to death all across the internet. So many people have done articles and videos on this, but the reason I wanted to create this video is so that I have a resource to give to my clients so that they know that I'm not just coming up with a number, but rather than there's an equation that I put their stats into, which gives me a starting point, and then based on their goals and how they are progressing week to week, we can manipulate these calories to make sure we're going in the right direction. Now, when we talk about consuming calories, I think the most important thing to do at the beginning is to figure out what a calorie actually is. And by definition, it is a unit of energy. So me talking to the camera right now, sleeping in your bed at night, going through a workout, you are burning calories all the time. The rate at which you burn calories has many factors in it: your height, your weight, your gender, your activity level. But even just in your sleep, you burn on average 50 to 60 calories per an hour. So if I wear my Fitbit to bed, I might wake up and already have 500 to 600 calories burned from the day. And this is happening all day, every day. We are always burning calories, and then we are also consuming calories to stay alive. So based upon your goals, you may need to eat more calories or you may need to eat less calories depending on how active you are in a day-to-day. So if you eat a protein bar and say it has 250 calories in it, well, where did that number of calories come from, the 250? So on a molecular level, scientists have figured out that for every 1 gram of protein we eat, that's equal to 4 calories. For every 1 gram of carbohydrates we eat, that is also equal to 4 calories. And for every 1 gram of fat, because it's a little more calorically dense, that's equal to 9 calories, so it's worth a little bit more. And that's just how it is. On a molecular level, they figured that those are the numbers. You can dive deeper into that, but for the point of this video, those are the numbers that we use to figure out how many calories are in something. So these are what we call our macronutrients. And these three numbers, when added together, come out to how many calories we are eating in the foods that we see. So if something has 10 grams of fat in it, what you do is 10 multiplied by the number 9, because there's 9 calories per gram of fat, and you get 90 calories. If something has 20 grams of protein, you do 20 multiplied by 4, and that has 80 grams from protein. So if I ate a protein bar that had 10 grams of fat and 20 grams of protein, you would do 90, because 9 times 10, plus 80, 4 times 20, and that has 170 calories in it because of the macronutrients. So that's pretty much just a standard quick example of how we figure out how many calories are in something. So to figure out how many calories you need to be eating, there's a few different things we need to do. The first thing is calculating what's called your basic metabolic rate, your BMR. Now, for an example, if you were in an accident where you needed to be on a feeding tube or you're in a coma, and I hope no one watching this video ever is, but if a doctor needed to figure out, all right, how many calories does this person need? They're in a coma, we're working on them, but how many calories do they need to eat through feeding tube when they're just going to be bedridden at rest? We use what's called the Benedict formula. That formula will now spit out a number, and that number is what your basic metabolic rate is. So this is just a starting number, and this is going to change person to person. It is very subjective because you have to put in your own stats. I'm going to put these equations, because they are different for men and women, in the description here, but I'm also going to zoom in a little bit just so you guys can see here. But I have the equation for men, I have the equation for women, and then I also explained what it would be for myself with my personal stats there. So I will just zoom in a little bit, but like I said, I will be putting this in the description box here. But for men, it is 66.47 plus 13.75 multiplied by your weight in kilograms plus 5.003 multiplied by your height in centimeters subtracted by 6.755 multiplied by your age. And then for women, as you see here, it's a little different, 655.1 plus 9.563 multiplied by your weight in kilograms, plus 1.85 multiplied by your height in centimeters, and then you subtract 4.676 times your age, and then that will spit out your basic metabolic rate. So I use myself as an example. Right now I am 5'8", I am 160 pounds, so I converted those numbers to kilograms, and I also converted my height to centimeters, and that spit out 1,752.8 calories. So at rest, without me doing any activity work, I need to consume 1,752.8 calories, roughly. I like to round that number, let's just say 1,750 calories to maintain my current body weight. So now that we've figured out our basic metabolic rate, and for myself and for my example, that is 1,750 calories. Like I said, that number is just if I was at rest. Now, most people are active, so you would have to actually put that number into another formula to figure out what your calories should be based upon your activity level. And the formula I'll use is the TDEE calculator. It's the total daily energy expenditure. So I have noticed just from personal experience that most of these calculators kind of overestimate how many calories people need to be eating. So the one that I like to use that seems to be the most accurate is a scale of 1 to 1.5. Now, the way this scale works is if you have a sedentary job and you are not going to the gym, you are not very active, you'd probably want to take your BMR and just keep it as is, multiplied by 1, because you have a sedentary job, you're not actively exercising throughout the week, you're not expending a ton of calories, so staying around your BMR is probably where you want to be. If you want to maintain your weight, if you want to lose some weight, I recommend instead of subtracting and lowering your calories, you might want to start exercising more, because typically people's basic metabolic rate isn't too high. So subtracting from that number could be dangerous, depends on how high your BMR is, but I would say before you subtract anything, I would definitely probably be more active. But then we would also have to manipulate that based on how active people are. So that's a 1. You could go 1.1, 1.2 if you think you're moderately active, but here I went middle of the road approach. I wanted to give an example of what a 1.3 would look like. I wrote down if you are moderately active, anywhere between 3 to 4 times a week working out, maybe you're not straining yourself, but you're at least moving. Maybe you're doing cardio twice a week and weights twice a week. Maybe you have a low activity job where you're moving around. It's not strenuous work, but at least you're on your feet and you're actually getting moving. Maybe someone that's a bartender or a waitress, you know, it's not strenuous as far as how your body is. You're not lifting heavy things all day, but you're on your feet, you're definitely going back and forth and you are burning calories. So that'd probably put you at about a 1.3, moderately active. So you would take your basic metabolic rate, that equation from the first board, and you would multiply it by 1.3. A 1.4, I didn't write it in on this board, but you're somewhere in between moderately active and very active. Maybe you're lifting 3 to 4 times a week, but it's actually heavy work. So maybe you're doing more strength training and more intense cardio on top of a job that might be moderately active. Or maybe you have an active job and maybe you are only working out 2 or 3 times a week, but your job is more strenuous. That'd probably put you at about a 1.4. You're right in between. You're not very active. You're not someone who's maybe an athlete, but you're definitely more than just someone who's moderately active throughout the week. Maybe you take a couple of classes a week. And like I said, your job is active. You can take your BMR and maybe multiply it by 1.4. That's like the middle of the road approach, that 1.3 to 1.4. For myself though, and for a lot of people that I'm friends with that are in the gym industry, a lot of trainers, a lot of athletes, people that are a 1.5, and this is the higher end of the scale here, these are people that are typically very active. And the example I gave here is if you're working out 5 or more times a week, people do double sessions. They might do their cardio in the morning, they do weightlifting at night, they do that multiple times a week. Those people are very active. Someone who's a mail carrier, if you're delivering the mail, you are walking miles and miles and miles a day. So you are very active. You are probably, doing anywhere between 20 to 30,000 steps a day, however many miles your route is. A CrossFit athlete, someone who's doing a lot of metabolic conditioning work, someone who's doing a lot of heavy lifting. The CrossFit athlete would be in there. Strongman competitors, bodybuilders, powerlifters, people who are lifting multiple times a week or have an active job or the combination of the both. 1.5 is the higher end. And for myself, being only 160 pounds right now, I've been trying to cut weight. I still consider myself on the higher end because I'm constantly moving. On average, if I'm teaching a class and I'm training clients, I could be doing anywhere between 20 to 25,000 steps a day. And if my watch is accurate, I'm burning anywhere between 3,500 and 4,000 calories a day. So I take the higher end approach, and using myself as an example here, 1,750 calories is my BMR. I multiply that by 1.5. It spits out 2,625 calories, and that is my starting number. So if my goal is to maintain my body weight at the activity level that I am at right now, I would want to eat that. 2,625 calories. So that amount should make my weight stabilize. If I notice when I'm tracking those calories that I'm gaining or losing weight, then I can address those calories, which I will explain further, based upon what my goals are. Now, like I said, this is just a starting number. It's definitely going to be tweaked, but that right there, 2,625 calories to maintain my weight is pretty accurate. I have actually been losing weight right now with a little bit of calories a little lower than that. But when I was eating around 2,600 calories, my weight was stable for a couple of weeks. So that is a pretty accurate representation of what I would need to figure out my maintenance calories. All right, guys, now that we know what our maintenance calories are based on our basic metabolic rate multiplied by our activity level, we need to figure out how to divide that calorie number that we have into our macronutrients, which we spoke about earlier, are our carbs, fats, and proteins. Now, when we talk about protein, it's very important. It helps us build muscle. It helps us recover. It is very important when you are losing weight because it becomes more satiating. It fills you up. It is muscle sparing, so it will help you retain some muscle mass when you are trying to lose weight, so you don't lose weight through muscle tissue. So typically, Arnold Schwarzenegger always said 1 gram per pound of body weight. That was always something he said when he was bodybuilding, and that seems to be pretty constant now. But obviously, if you have someone who's very overweight, if you're watching this video and you're 400 pounds and you really should be 200 pounds, I think it's very important to take that into consideration because you don't want to be eating so much protein that you aren't going to be able to break down and actually process. So maybe if you're very overweight, you stay on the lower end, the 0.8 side. But if you're lean and you're trying to retain muscle mass, you can go as high as 1.5 grams of protein multiplied by your body weight. I like to take the middle of the road approach, so I used a 1.2 as my number, which I'll get to in a little bit. Fat is a very important hormone, important macronutrient for hormones, excuse me. Things like olive oil, almonds, avocados, those things are very important in your diet. I think a lot of people maybe don't tend to eat enough healthy fats, but they are very important. And a standard there is 20 to 30% of your caloric intake for the day should come from calories of healthy fats. And the rest is going to come through carbs. So what we do is we figure out the protein and the fats, and whatever's left over for calories, that's kind of going to go and tack on the carbs there. So I use myself as an example here. Like I said, I'm 160 pounds. I'm trying to lose some weight right now because I'm going to be doing a photo shoot. So I'm pretty light right now. This is probably the lightest I've been in a really long time. So 160 multiplied by 1.2 because I wanted to take that middle of the road approach. That gives me 190 grams of protein. Came out to 192, but I like to keep this nice and even numbers for this example here. Another middle of the road approach, 25% of 2,625 because that was what my maintenance calories were, which I figured out through my BMR and my activity level. That gives me about 70 grams of fat there. So now what I do, I got to do some math here. So I take that 190, I multiply it by 4 calories per gram of protein. So 190 times 4 is 760. I take those 70 grams of fat and multiply it by 9 because there is 9 calories per gram of fat. So 70 times 9. And I come out, once added together, to 1,390. So that's how many calories I need to subtract from my maintenance calorie levels, which was the 2,625. The reason we subtract that is because whatever's left over from this equation here, that's going to spit out a number that we're going to use to figure out our carbs. And for me, 2,625 subtract the 1,390 we got from the protein and the fats, and that comes out to 1,235 calories that are left over. Now, I'm going to divide that by 4, because 4 calories per every gram of carb I eat, that comes out to 310 grams of carbs. Now, if I do the reverse math right here, if I do 310 multiplied by 4 plus 190 multiplied by 4 plus 70 multiplied by 9, that comes out to 2,630 calories. So my maintenance level was 2,625 calories. That's right on the button. 5 calories is nothing. I just burned it saying that sentence. So this math helped me figure out how many calories I need to maintain my body weight. And the point of this video is these are starting numbers. I am not going to stay with these numbers probably for too long, depending on what my energy expenditure is and what my goals are. So if I want to lose weight, I know that I need to drop those calories. But if I eat this amount of calories for a week and I did lose weight, then I'm probably going to stay with those calories until I stop losing the amount of body weight that I want. And typically a healthy amount of weight to lose is anywhere between half a pound to maybe 2 pounds at the highest. You don't want to lose weight too quick because you don't want to eat through muscle tissue. But I would probably just subtract a little bit through carbs and fats I don't really like to subtract through protein when I'm trying to lose weight. Like I said, it keeps me full. It's usually the bulk of my diet is through protein. So just subtracting a little bit through carbs and fats is a good way for me to lose some weight. And if my goal is to gain weight and I'm eating 2,625 calories and I am not gaining weight, then I know I need to increase that number a little bit so that I can consume more calories and offset the amount of energy that I'm burning. And then that will help me reach my goals. That's another video that I'm going to make, how to adjust macronutrients, when to adjust macronutrients, and how often you should be doing that. But these numbers, and like I said, I know there's a lot of calculators, there's a lot of equations, there's a lot of information here. You might have to watch this video a few times. I'm trying to talk nice and slow and try to go over this. I've done this so many times it comes easy to me, so to teach it on a level of slowing things down for someone who's never done it before becomes a little bit more difficult because there's so many numbers. But if you watch the video back, and like I said, I'm going to link the equations in the description, the ones that I use for this, but I really do believe that this is pretty black and white. It's pretty easy. It's just math. Once you figure out these numbers, it's just a starting number. You are definitely going to have to adjust this at some point. Some people can go weeks. One time, recently actually, the cut I'm in right now, I went 4 weeks of not having to adjust my calories at all. I just made sure I worked out harder in the gym. I had to add maybe some cardio sessions, or I had to increase the workload that I was doing. But I'd rather see my clients work harder in here so they don't have to eat less food, because eating food's fun. We enjoy eating. We like going out to dinner with our family and our friends. And I don't want people to feel like they can't eat a lot of calories because they have to starve themselves, which is usually the problem. A lot of people come to me and they aren't eating enough food. So if we can work harder in the gym, then our energy output will help offset that, and we won't have to reduce our calories too much. But at some point you probably are going to have to, or you're going to have to eat more calories so that you can gain some muscle and put some weight on. So I hope that was very helpful. If you have to watch it a few times, or if you have any questions, you can message me. I'm going to link my Instagram on there. Please send me a message. But this is pretty much how I went about figuring out how many calories my clients and myself should be eating. And like I said, just a starting number, which we will manipulate, but that's pretty much how you do it. So thank you for listening. I hope that helped to figure out your starting numbers. And like I said, if you have any questions, please just let me know.